thing because I feel like, yeah, the social justice movement be extreme and kind of like Voss said, be co-opted with other things, but at the same time, I feel like it gets automatically dismissed and reduced to, oh, it's sin and sin is the problem and sin. Like we could just say that about everything. Let's not talk about abortion. Let's not talk about women's rights. Let's not talk about none of it. Let's just say sin, and let that be the end of the conversation.
And then be done with it, right?
I think the white church. I think the white churches they have their niche. Growing up in kind of both worlds, man, they got their niche. Like they abortion issues, pro-life. Mm-hmm. And something else like race relations is not really like a hot topic, in some of those places. And the white church, they do a great job of organization and being systematic in their approach to make their presence felt in certain areas. Like you got white churches that are like doing really good in Buffalo. You know about these churches, and they buy up property, they get a building, they organize, they fundraise, they get their money right, and they doing all these programs trying to impact certain impoverished inner city areas. Like there's one church called the Chapel, got like 6,000 members. Wow. Bought this old Catholic church for $1. It's like a campus, and it's like right down the street from like a hood. Meech will tell you like it's right there near the parishes, and so. Like they got a whole campus there, and then now they got a whole big ministry working with refugee people to where they like stay there 2 nights a week for free. They open up one of their buildings. They got mattresses, they got cots, they do different food, and they let them stay there because some people don't got places to stay. And so like they just organized. And I'm in a place, Voss, you into my church, like I'm in a place where there's like 20 churches within 4 blocks.
Yeah.
And like they don't even know how to organize and be effective within a 4-block radius to have an impact to even be felt. But how's that church coming into our area and being organized and being felt and doing something? And everybody got their own agenda within 4 blocks. And it's like, oh, we got a breakfast club. Oh, we got a pantry. We got a whatever. And it's it's everybody. I got come to my spot like they fighting for members or something.
That's what I'm saying. Like oneness. That's what I'm saying. You can't have this like fantasized view of oneness for that exact reason. Like I said, people don't agree. You can't even agree to disagree for a common cause because of that. Like we want the rep. We want to say we cleaned up this neighborhood or we did this. Or people got to come from outside to come in, you know what I'm saying, and do the work.
But check it. Here's something to consider too. I'm going to be that guy. However many amount, I don't know what the stats are exactly, but as far as churches not talking to each other, as far as, the most segregated day being Sunday, right? Or whatever.
Indeed.
I think from the outside looking in, I think a lot of white Christians are ignorant because they only know black culture, not black people, because you meet all, I think they know there's all kinds of black people. You know what I mean? I think even if you're judging on the external, I think the average white Christian would judge a Vodi Bakum just on first meeting than they would somebody that's like, from the hood and serving God just as much, right? So when you look at the culture from the outside, you see so much that's celebrated that's like, it's hard to understand. Like for instance, like criminality celebrated in black culture. We know this, right? It's not a secret. So how is it, now I'm not saying this is valid, but I'm just trying to give some perspective. How is it that a culture that celebrates criminality is complaining about the police?
Right.
Now it's much deeper than that in reality. It's like Tupac said. It's like, what makes you think I want to be next door to the killer? If these areas are like that, it doesn't mean that everybody there is like that. And the police often come into these neighborhoods with that attitude. So I think that there is like some legit ignorance there.
Right. I agree with that. And I agree there's a legit ignorance. That's why the responsibility is on both sides.
Right.
But it doesn't, at the same time, doesn't negate the issue or the need to address the issue. So like being that people in the culture or in these neighborhoods know the neighborhood, would it be selfish to not go back once you get out? Because then not to talk about Nipsey, but to highlight the situation of going back and you still being in danger, because we know how the hood is. They don't care about what you're doing or how important you are. It's just about that moment. Very short-sighted thinking. So do any of y'all agree with not going back or going back regardless? Like,
Well, yeah. Well, if I could attack this first, so I don't want to try to blame everything on like hip hop culture. I'm not trying to do that, but at the same time,
yes, you are, Meech.
What'd you say?
Yes, you are.
Okay,
it's evil. It's evil.
Listen.
Hip hop is evil.
So look at this. When you breed competition, because that's what people overlook about hip hop. They just look at the violence of it. But I look at the competitive spirit that's built in it. That's not with a basketball or football. This is a competitive spirit between human life and territory. So what happens is when you make it, quote unquote, out of the hood, you're doing better for yourself. That mentality that is bred within the hood that you come from is still there. Just because you left it, when you get back, boys is like, oh, you back on the court. It's time to ball again. That's just the way the mentality is. So for me, that's why it makes it hard for people. And I actually applaud Nipsey Hussle and maybe a few others that's doing things in the community. I applaud them for their courage, because you got to have some courage, because you know that what's going on. You know what I'm saying? So it makes it tough. For me, sometimes I got to be honest. When somebody kind of doesn't like show their face in the hood, how can you blame them? I bet Chinks wish he hadn't went back where he went. You know what I'm saying?
Wow. Yo, but you know what? Truth is a hard pill to swallow, because in the 90s, didn't Biggie tell us, yo, when I'm standing on the corner broke and I see somebody driving by in the Benz, I'm like, F that, I'll kill that N-word. Yeah. That's what Biggie said in one of his famous interviews. He said, so now that I'm the one in the Benz, I know the same speech is coming out. So it's like amongst ourselves, we acknowledge these dynamics. But when somebody from the outside tries to touch that in any kind of way, there's this huge defense because of the history of racism. And it's like, what do you do with that? What do you do with that? So as far as, first of all, I think people need to get over this, I owe my neighborhood. No, you don't. Unless your neighborhood really did something for you, just because you grew up there. And that's another thing. Why do people feel like they owe their block and not their high school? Why do you feel like you owe the block you sold crack on and not the church pantry that fed your mama? Like, why is loyalty to the hood only relegated to the people that are living the life of crime? You don't owe those guys anything unless you owe them anything. And 9 times out of 10, the people who you really have came up with, those are the people that rappers usually keep in their entourage anyway. Those are the people you still maintain contact with, go out with, hang out with. So, I don't think you owe your hood anything. And I'm a person who wants to go back to the hood, who does do outreach, but you owe your family.
If I might add, like, I have no idea what it's like to be in y'all's situation when it comes to that. I grew up as a military brat. All I know is living on military bases. But from an outsider, just kind of looking and just being in conversations, I think it's just the risk that you run. Like, you want to come back to that thing, like, you know what you're getting into. Like, if you got an agenda, you a man of principles, you're trying to bring and ignite change in a place that you know it could be volatile, it's the risk that you run wanting to be in there. You want to be able to touch the community. They want to see your face. They want to believe you. And, man, maybe it's not about owning the block, but it's about owning the block. If you're coming back, man, you're trying to buy up. You're trying to own. You're trying to infect and ignite change in a way. And, I mean, as an outsider perspective, I could be completely wrong on that. But just the spirit of the conversation I've seen and heard, it's the risk that you run being where you at. What I'm about to say may not compare, but I live, like Meech knows where I live. Like, I chose to live where I live because I want to be connected to the people that I teach, to the kids that I'm around. Like, I wanted them to see me at, Minnesota and Bailey at the corner store. Like, yo, like, what you doing there? Like, I figured you'd be out in the hamburgers, something like that.
Yeah, you live in a
hood. What I'm saying? Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to the same, street where they robbed my house 5 years ago, man. Like, 6 young people robbed my house and took, like, mad stuff, and I had to embarrass and go back to their house and take it from their house and take it back to my house once the cops busted them. But I'm saying, it's the risk that I run being here. You know what I'm saying? Like, you see me, what's up? It's just a risk you run, I guess. And it's just, I'm trying to be a man of principles. Like, you see me, I'm not driving in 30 minutes from the nice spot. I could live there if I wanted to.
Yo, let me say this. I got to get in here real quick. Now, that's the thing. And I know me and Voss can be very, very hard on hip hop and everything like that. But that's
still talking about hip hop. This guy.
That's why
we love it. It's an idol.
That's why the glorification of criminality is so bad. Me and Josh shared a close conversation about this. Josh was shaken up. His wife and child could have been home when these people went in there. Thank God they were not.
Right.
That's scary.
Right.
That's scary.